Imagine you're a business owner relying on a dozen different software programs, each one disconnected, more expensive, and more complicated than the last. It can be incredibly stressful, right? Now, picture Odoo. Odoo brings all the tools your business needs into one simple platform. CRM, accounting, inventory, manufacturing, marketing, HR, and more. All seamlessly connected. Everything works together, giving you the peace of mind that your business is running smoothly from every angle. Odoo's open source applications are user-friendly and designed to scale with your business, saving you time and money. Say goodbye to juggling multiple platforms and hello to efficient, integrated management. Stop wasting resources on complicated systems and make the switch to Odoo today. Visit odoo.com, ODOO.com, and discover how Odoo can simplify and streamline your business operations. Odoo, modern management made simple.
Bienvenido al podcast de The Way. Si quieres aprender inglés y hablar con confianza, estás en el sitio correcto. Hemos ayudado a miles de personas como tú a mejorar su inglés y alcanzar sus objetivos. Visita nuestra web theway.es para conocer más sobre nuestros cursos online desde A2 hasta C1 y descubre cómo podemos ayudarte a avanzar en tu aprendizaje. Además, si necesitas una certificación oficial, también ofrecemos la opción de realizar el examen Language Pair cómodamente desde casa.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Real Life, Real English. And we are joined today by Teresa Bestwick. Teresa with one S, not two S's like it said in the introduction, which I've just noticed. These things happen. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. This is very exciting.
It is. And Teresa and I met 2 years ago in Madrid because Teresa is a teacher trainer and she does lots of things for Language Cert. And we had a partners meeting in a test center meeting in Madrid. And you were one of the talkers there. And I remember that you just left a lasting impression on me because every other talker that day, they were presenters as such, but you were a teacher. So when you got up onto stage, you just went into teacher mode. And that is what really connects, I think, teachers together. We have that kind of same style of presenting where it doesn't matter who your audience is, they are your students.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the things that I love as well about attending conferences, like that ability to be a student and feel what it's like to be in the classroom and go, just give me activities. I want to do activities.
Yeah. And you did get everyone involved and talking. And then we met again, obviously, a couple of weeks ago in Madrid, where you were a little bit jet lagged, but you gave a talk again because you had just gotten back from LA, was it?
Yes, so I'm on the TESOL Spain board, and I went to represent them at the International TESOL conference in LA, in Long Beach. Wow. Yeah, so that was quite an experience. And then came back, arrived that morning, and then gave a session that afternoon. When you love it, it's easy.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Once you have a passion for something, it just becomes easy. It's not like it's a job and you set your alarm to get up to do it. It just comes naturally, which is really cool. So yeah, you mentioned then that you're on the board for TESOL Spain. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about TESOL in Spain?
Well, so TESOL, it's an association for language teachers. And it's a national organization. They organize a conference every year. But then they also have regional groups, regional coordinators who maybe do local events in Galicia, Madrid, in Seville, Malaga. I don't know if we've got anyone in Murcia.
I was just thinking that.
I was saying before we started recording, it's nice to be a part of something bigger. And it's a really wonderful opportunity to meet up with other teachers. And I love the convention. It's just, so much for me about going to these events is seeing familiar faces, as well as, all the ideas and the things to use on Monday. But really, it's about that connection, I think. I think that's so important in what we do.
Yeah. And I think in our industry, we're very lucky that as teachers, we're quite open to share our ideas with each other. There's no gates. Whereas in a lot of industries that I've worked in, there's lots of kind of trade secrets and you keep them to yourself and you don't want your competition to find out. But as teachers and educators, we love to share ideas, and actually we're quite proud of our ideas and sharing them. So
Yeah.
so that's TESOL Spain, and obviously as well, you have the TEFL Development Hub, and you're the founder of the TEFL Development Hub. Tell us a bit about that.
So this started, it was originally my boss and I at the time that set it up. It came about kind of post-pandemic, because during the pandemic, we did a series of webinars for teachers about using Zoom and teaching online. Everyone was kind of thrown in at the deep end and was starved, like looking for ideas of what they could do. But from that as well, we realized that people were really missing that connection. Everyone was just at home, and they were missing out on attending conferences and speaking to people and having that opportunity to connect. So it was originally his idea to set up something online. And so we set it up, and then obviously he was a business owner, and post-pandemic things, a lot of things needed his attention. So I ended up just taking it over, and it's been going since November 2020, so almost 5 years now.
And is it every week that you do, or is it every 2 weeks you do some online videos?
So
and lives
we normally have a live session every couple of weeks. Now they're live streamed to YouTube. I've been a bit lax recently, partly work and then obviously travel, but then also originally everything was live streamed directly to Facebook, and I got an email from Facebook going, just to let you know, we're removing all of your live streamed video content. So for the past couple of weeks, I've been downloading all the previous sessions and then kind of getting in touch with people, all these wonderful people who gave up their time and expertise to come along and do a session, and kind of gone, just to let you know, do you mind if I upload it to YouTube? Because I don't want to upload it without their consent. Because before it was in like this private closed group, and then it would be just out there for everyone. So I'm kind of working my way through that, but then hopefully May I'll get back into the habit of having someone to come along every couple of weeks.
Amazing. And just quickly, we're going straight into teacher mode here. And this is the great thing, right, about this, that you're talking about, obviously, your businesses and your work and things. And there were 3 amazing things that you said. And I'm going to throw you in at the deep end and get you to explain the expression thrown in at the deep end.
Yeah, so it's when you're put in a situation that you have very little experience in. And I mean, literally, imagine if you don't really know how to swim and somebody threw you into the deep end of a swimming pool. You kind of just have to do something and get on with it. So that's, I think, the idea of where the phrase comes from, going into a situation with very little experience and do what you can.
Yeah, and I think as teachers, we are always thrown in at the deep end, whether it's a last-minute class or a last-minute exam. Someone wants to do the exam and we need to register them last minute, etc. So yeah, it's a good expression to have, to be thrown in at the deep end. And obviously the deep end is the part that has the most, I'm thinking Spanish, the most profundity.
The most depth.
The most depth, yeah. It's not the shallow part, which is the part with the least amount of water. So yeah, great expression. And then you said you're a little bit lax at the moment with creating content. And the word lax is something that we probably wouldn't see in many English books.
Yeah, and I think we always use it in that sort of context, don't we? Like, I've been a bit lax recently. It's never something you're going to do. It's always kind of talking about a situation that's just happened. And so, yeah, it's when you're not doing everything that you should be doing. So particularly, we might use it as well kind of in health and fitness. Like, imagine you're one of those people who goes running every morning, but then something happens and, it's been a week or two that you haven't gone. I've been a bit lax recently, or healthy eating. I've been trying to eat healthily, but recently I've had a few more snacks. I've been a bit lax in my diet. Yeah.
Which is really cool. And these little expressions and vocabulary just come from us talking naturally. And then you used a phrasal verb as well, which was missing out on something. I can't remember the context now, but I wrote it down as soon as you said it.
I can't remember what I said either. Yeah.
People don't want to be missing out on something.
Mm.
How would you explain that?
Well, I mean, I guess a way to explain it with another phrase that people might be more familiar with is FOMO. People might have seen that around. So that fear of missing out. So recently I've seen a few mentions of FOMO online because there's been another huge international teachers convention just this last week in Edinburgh. Lots of photos on social media of people hanging out and selfies and all those connections again. And a few people on LinkedIn have been posting, hashtag FOMO, because, when you're not somewhere where things seem to be happening, maybe you do feel that you're missing out, that you're not having that experience that other people are having. Yeah,
you can feel a little bit jealous of them experiencing what they're experiencing, and you're not able to be part of it.
But then there's also somebody coined the term JOMO, which is the joy of missing out.
I like
and that kind of, you don't need to be everywhere all the time, and you don't need to live up to these social media expectations. It's perfectly fine to just be at home on the sofa with your book and a cup of tea.
Oh, more than happy to do that, especially with the weather we've had here recently in Spain, which is very unnormal. Awesome. So, moving on to the other things that you do. Obviously, teacher trainer, but you're also an author. Tell us about some of the books and textbooks, etc., that you've created.
So most recently, I worked with Fiona Mocklin on a methodology book called Teaching Teenagers with Delta Publishing. We kind of worked on it. It was released this time last year. So it's been in the wild now for about a year. And that was really fun. She did the first section, which was really all about the brain and how teenage brains work. Then we wrote the middle section very much together with lots of practical ideas for the classroom. Mm-hmm. And then I did a final section which had some kind of challenges that teachers of teens might face, and then a few reflection activities for teachers as well. So that was really interesting. It was the first time I'd written a methodology book. I'd done some course book writing before, but really interesting to kind of go through that process. And Fiona she's so experienced as a writer. And she actually was my tutor 19 years ago, when I did my International House Young Learners Certificate. So, to be then given the opportunity to write with her was like, ooh, exciting.
That's incredible. And I bet that's incredible for both of you as well, because she's obviously, you were her student, so she's going to have that kind of feeling of being super proud and seeing the development of you as a teacher as well. And then obviously you to be able to work with kind of a mentor type person as well that's amazing. Really cool. And the title of the book obviously is for teenagers, yeah? So it's aimed at teaching teenagers. Now, as an academy owner, and we train all of our teachers in-house as well, I can tell you, and you'll know this as well, that the most difficult age groups to teach: infants, teenagers. Everything in between, everything after, no problem. Teachers love it. However, infants, teenagers, they can be a very difficult age group to teach. And if the book has any of the content that you share at the seminars that I've been to, then it's going to be a book worth checking out, because you just keep everyone's attention. I remember the first seminar that we went to. It was when, what was the series? I just had the name of it in my head.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. So Stranger Things, and you used like a scene from Stranger Things, and you played it, and then you stopped, and then we all had to guess what was going to happen next. And then you gave options on the board. And I think that really showed that you understood what the teenagers, not just teenagers, because we were really amused as well, but what teenagers want, how to keep their attention, and then how to get them involved as well. Not just keeping their attention, but having them want to participate. It's a really incredible skill to have. So definitely going to be checking out your book there for some more ideas, because every time I go to one of the seminars, I come home with a million notes. Awesome. We actually did the noughts and crosses game the other day that you gave with the expressions, and my teenagers loved it.
Yeah. I mean, going back to what we were saying at the beginning about connection, I think that's so important in the teen classroom as well. Just, it's not that thing about being their best friend, but it's just about getting to know them, building rapport, and, being yourself with them. I think authenticity is really important in the teen classroom. You don't want to pretend to be one of them, because that will not work at all. But yeah, just you be you, let them be them, and happiness.
Yeah, I mean, I could expand on that for hours, because I truly believe that being a teacher, one of the main things is that connection that you have with your student. Because if you're connected, they are going to learn from you. So getting onto their level, understanding what they like, asking them applications that they're using on their phone or series that they're watching, and then taking the time to prepare a lesson that's specifically for them. They realize that, and they appreciate it, and then they get involved. And at the moment, my teenage class, they're really enjoying English jokes. But we've got this ongoing thing where I have to try and make them laugh. And as funny as the joke is, they're just going to sit there straight faced and not laugh. And we've made it a joke that I have to try and make them laugh, and then they don't. And then I thought, do you know what? I'm not going to tell them a joke this week because they're not laughing. And their reaction at the end of the class was like, "Teacher, we can't go home yet. You haven't told us the daily joke." I said, "Because you're not laughing at my daily jokes."
That's such a lovely idea.
Yeah, and again, with English jokes, there's a lot you can learn from the play of words and things like that. So sometimes they look at me and they're like, "Yeah, we understand the joke. It's just not funny."
Like all those typical dad jokes.
Yeah, I'm getting my practice in already.
Awesome.
So let's move on. So the next part of the show, I always get our guests to talk about something that they're passionate about, or something that's going on in their life at the moment. And at the language seminar, you mentioned that you had taken 1,000 photos on an app called Flora Ingognita.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about Flora Ingognita.
So it came about, it was my mum actually who originally got me into it, because she also loves gardening, she loves flowers, she lives out in the countryside. And probably around July last year, I think it was, she said, "Oh, I've got this new app." My mum's very down with it all. And so she got me hooked on it. And so it's an app, it's from a German company, and it's actually, the main idea behind it is something scientific. They're trying to map the species that exist it's meant to be more about wildflowers and wild species than cultivated plants. But so it's great. So you can go out and you just walk along the street and see a plant, snap a few pics of it, and then AI checks it and says with 78% accuracy, it's this. So and it is very addictive because you can get badges as well. So when we were at the language search seminar, it was when I'd just managed, like you say, to snap 1,000 different species.
That's incredible. And that 1,000th species, was that when you were in America?
It was when I was in the States. Yeah, I was very lucky. But the great thing about it as well is that it really does make you aware of just how much variety there is around you. Probably within San Fernando, I think I've got like 300 different plants. But as well, we've got the beach, then we've got the salt marshes, we've got kind of a little bit of piney sort of stuff as well. So there are like all these different environments or biospheres, I guess they call them.
Yeah.
So yes, and you do just kind of walk along going, ooh, what's that? Ooh, and the color as well. So this time of year we get a lot of I now know that they are Bermuda buttercups, and so that like the salt marshes are just covered in this yellow flower. And so when you look at it from a distance, you think yellow. But then when you're walking along and you're kind of looking at things a lot more, you see like splashes of purple or like a couple of little red flowers. And so it just makes you a lot more aware of the variety. And I just love connecting with nature as well.
Yeah, me too, actually. And I used to have a different app on my phone because I'm a volunteer for the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and when we take the students out into the wild for their exhibition, they have to do a project, and lots of the time it's about taking pictures of the plants and the different species along their adventurous journey. And one of them had an app on their phone. And they were taking the pictures so that they knew the name of the species and then they could write it down afterwards. And it was really interesting to see them get involved with nature and wanting to learn what species it is. And their main thing was, is it edible? I said, just caution on the safe side. Don't eat anything, just in case. But yeah, they were really kind of engrossed in the process of taking pictures and finding out what it was and what these plants could be used for, whether it was medicinal or if you could eat it, what animals do eat it. And then when they saw what animals ate those plants, they wanted to set up camp there so they could catch the animal eating the plant. And I think it's a great way of combining both technology and nature in an educational way. And I don't know if you've seen something similar with the way that you've been using it. Obviously, understanding more about plants and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely so I can name quite a lot of plants now as well. But then I also kind of challenge myself and go, oh, I think that's a da-da-da. Is it? And then you can kind of take a photo just to check. So it's definitely broadened my horizons and helped me to learn something new as well, which is wonderful.
And you said that your mum got you into taking pictures. Now, the expression to get somebody into has lots of different meanings. Like my sister-in-law got her kids into the car. Like the literal meaning of she put them into the car. But to get somebody into a hobby or something like that has a completely different meaning. How would you explain that to?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we use it as well with be. So I am into, meaning it's my hobby, I'm interested in. And so then that get somebody into is when another person introduces you to that hobby and makes you interested in it. So it can be a person, or it could be, for example, imagine you were watching a TV show, like a cookery program. And then you could say, oh, that program really got me into Mexican food or something. So yeah, different ways of getting you interested in something.
Yeah, makes you interested in a certain topic. And then you said your mum is really down with it.
Yeah, that's kind of my joke phrase that I always use whenever anything technological comes up, and I often use it in a negative way about myself. Like if I mention a meme or something, I kind of go, oh yeah, I'm really down with the kids, as in I really know what the kids are talking about these days, when I really don't. And so my mum, she's not like hugely technological, but you know, she was the one that found this app. I don't know how she came across it, how she found out about it. So she's really down with the latest technology. She knows all about the latest technology.
This is cool when we can sort of learn things from our parents, when they're sharing technological things with us. It's like, hold on a minute, did you know how to use Facebook? You know how to use TikTok? Actually, my mum was on TikTok the other day. She liked one of my posts. I'm like, hang on, how did this happen?
Has she got her own videos? Is she doing all the dancing? And no,
not quite yet. But obviously, with her third grandkid on the way, maybe the grandkids will get her into doing dancing on TikTok. And then you mentioned, and I had to bring it up because of the name of the plant, the buttercup. Now, butter obviously is fermented milk. How would we describe butter?
Milk that's been churned, which been stirred a lot to become thicker, so you can spread it on your bread. Yes.
And then cup is obviously a cup that we drink out of. It just made me laugh that we got buttercup and butterfly.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with butter.
No, it's true.
And I don't know if when you lived in the UK, obviously in the spring, the buttercups started to flower. And we had this strange thing when we were kids, but we would pick a buttercup, put it under our chin. And if there was like a yellow dot on your chin, or if it reflected, it's because you like butter.
Yeah. Which is so crazy.
So when you said about the buttercup species that you'd photographed, it just reminded me of that, and I can imagine you picking the buttercup. Yeah, I still like butter.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's a really funny thing as well. So obviously, when you take the picture and it gives you this accuracy of it's this plant, some of the plant names are crazy. Like I've had a weasel's snout. So like a weasel, one of those small creatures, and then the snout is its nose. A shaggy soldier, apparently I have growing on my terrace. It's really incredible, yeah.
And you could be telling a friend in a cafe that, yeah, I've got this lovely shaggy shoulder on my terrace. And someone looks over and you have a what?
What?
I do like that. And then right at the end, you said it's really broadened my horizons. Lovely expression, that one. I would love to hear some of my students use broaden my horizons. How would you explain that?
Well, so the horizon is what you can see in the distance when you look out. Often we use it to talk about the sea. And so, you know, if you imagine you're looking like this, and then to make your horizon broader would be to make it wider. So it's just opening you up to new things, opening your mind to new ideas. Making you more aware of things.
Yeah. Which also gives you more opportunities as well. Like if you go to a seminar, it broadens your horizons. You have more contacts, maybe some job opportunities, and things like that. So yeah, it's a lovely expression, broaden my horizons. And then the last one you said is another great phrasal verb, to be hooked on. I'm really hooked on it. And obviously hook, I always picture Captain Hook. And to be hooked on something means you're stuck because he's hooked you, he's grabbed you, he's taken your attention. So to be hooked on something, almost to be addicted, maybe.
Yep. Another great one. Yeah, I think it's always funny when you examine and you notice that some students repeat the same phrases. So I was doing some examining the other day, and the girl was keen on. She was keen on everything, and that just kept popping up. And every time I heard it, I was like, "Oh, you're keen on this."
And keen on is super common now, and I think it's like the first phrasal verb they teach in the B1 Cambridge books. So everyone from page 1, they know keen on. And we have an examiner, and she's called Avril Keenan. And in the exam, when people use keen on, she's like, "Yeah, oh no, you're saying keen on. You're not saying my surname." So it always reminds me of her. So tell me more about the app. You said about there's badges that you can earn and things, and you're on your 1000th badge, which is just insane. Are there any other challenges?
Only 1,000 species. I've got 83 badges.
Wow. So there's different badges for different things. So you've taken 1,000 different pictures of different species, which means more than 1,000 pictures, no?
Yep. I'm almost up to 2,000 photos, 2,000 observations. So as in terms of the badges, they also did badges. For example, during 2024, there was a tree of the year, a flower of the year. There are different things for you to look out for. And then there are things like collecting cacti. So you got a badge when you collected 5, then 10, then 15, then 20 different species. Same for kind of wildflowers, trees. There was one which was plants for butterflies, because I think, again, they're trying to... So part of it is about rewilding. So, ensuring that we don't lose out on all that biodiversity of insects and things. And so the badge for the plants for butterflies was a way of ensuring that these species are still around and still attracting insects. And then, so there's all the badges. And then there's also, as I mentioned, it's kind of a scientific endeavor. So there are projects that now you can join. A lot of them tend to be based in Germany because that's where the company was founded. But for example, I saw one about allergens or something. Allergies. So looking up or tracking species which are likely to cause allergies in people and finding out, where they're most abundant and things like that. So that's quite interesting as well.
And you can just join those projects. And do you have a hobby that goes hand in hand with this app, as in hiking or anything like that, or?
Probably more just walking, I would say, rather than hiking. Because the problem is, if I went hiking, I'd probably go with my husband. And obviously the plant app requires you stopping every few minutes going, right? Okay, carry on. Oh, stop. Right. So it tends to be a lot more when I'm just on my own. But yeah, I mean, I love being outside. I love walking around. I love getting out the house and going for a walk in the mornings and at weekends if the weather's nice. As you mentioned, the rain in Spain has been falling everywhere recently. But yeah, getting out and being in nature is one of my favorite things, I think.
Nice. And it reminds me a bit about, have you tried geocaching?
See, this was the thing. So that was the app that I'd just started on before my mum told me about the Flora Ingognita app. And I had found maybe 3 geocaches. There were a few around. And that was fun as well. I mean, it sounds like you might have done it a bit more. Do you want to explain more of what it is?
I actually haven't done geocaching because I got into hiking a long time ago. So I was the traditional letterboxing, where you would find a map, and there would be a thing called a letterbox hidden somewhere in the wildlife, in nature, and you have to go and find it. And then inside the box, there is a stamp normally. And then you have your book and you stamp to say that you found this letterbox. So you didn't have GPS or anything like that. You had a traditional compass and a map, and then a coordinate to where the letterbox was. So I did a fair bit of letterboxing, and I took those skills with me onto the Duke of Edinburgh, and then teaching the students how to read maps and to navigate that sort of terrain. And then one of the students said to me, well, this is just geocaching. So I said, tell me more. And they said that basically it's letterboxing, but with GPS, and you follow your GPS signal to find a point on a map, which could be a box with something. And then when you're in that point, the GPS knows that you're there and ticks it off your list. That's how he explained it to me. I haven't done any more research on it since then. So you seem to have done a bit more than me, if that's the right description, or correct me if I'm wrong.
To be honest, I came across it originally in a course book text. There was a text about geocaching, and I was like, oh, what's this? So that was how I first kind of found out about it. But yeah, I mean, it does sound like letterboxing is the old school version. And nowadays, because there is an app for everything, everyone now has their geocache app. But yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you said. There are points on a map. And then when you get there, there's something hidden. And then you tick it off that you've found that geocache. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just a great way of, like we said earlier, integrating technology into the classroom, and getting people outside as well. I think there's some really great takeaways there. If we can get children outside doing something that they're passionate about, then I think that's a win-win for everyone. Yeah. Where we live here, we're on a little resort, and I literally have the foot of the mountains right here behind us. And recently, the children on the resort have been rather bored and causing a little bit of trouble, as bored teenagers do. And it's not like they're causing trouble, they're just bored and doing teenager things. And I said to them, right, boys, I saw what you just did. That was rather naughty. I need to get you outside and show you the mountains. So I've organized with their parents to take them out into the mountains and to be able to show them that there's things that you can do when you're bored to obviously amuse yourself. So I showed them how to enter the track and some of the roads that they can take. And literally the other day we were in the garden, and our garden looks out over the mountains, but we have like a fence that separates us from the mountains. And I saw these 4 boys on their bikes riding by my house, and they look in, they're like, hey, Anthony, we're just off to the abandoned house up the road. And it's just a way. It was really rewarding for me to see that little chat and showing them that they can get out and do something with their boredom. Actually got them out there and exploring. And then they came back 20 minutes later and they went, Anthony, do you have a shovel? Why do you want a shovel? I better ask why before I say yes. And they said, well, we found this really cool trail and we want to build a ramp. And I haven't heard kids for a long, long time want to get a shovel, build a ramp, and kind of play on their own. And it was so rewarding. So I got my shovel, I threw it over the fence, and away they went. They created this ramp and they cleared the area. And it was really, really cool. And I think anything that we can do to help our teenage students especially connect with nature, like I said, is a win-win for everyone. And I think a way that we have to do that is getting technology involved as well. So what ways have you seen of getting technology involved in a teenager's education?
Put me on the spot, why don't you? Well, so I'm really lucky this year, right? I've got a couple of teenage classes who are absolutely wonderful. And one of them is a C1 group. There's only 3 in the class. And they're all very they're all very keen on improving their English. And so one of them told me about a podcast that she's listening to. So this was nothing that I did. This was all coming from her. And I can't remember the name of it now, but it's kind of short stories. It's aimed at English language learners, with kind of short, true stories from around the world. So I did listen to one episode, and it was about the great maple syrup theft. So this was this huge scandal a few years ago when maple syrup in Canada was stolen, and how they did it and how it was found out and things. So that was really interesting. So I think that's the great thing about technology, is that our students have a lot more access to things, and they can find things on their own. And when they find things themselves, they're often a lot more motivated to use them, rather than the teacher saying, here's this app, use it, it will help you improve your English. Obviously as a teacher, we would show it to them in class and hopefully spark a little bit of enthusiasm in it. But if they can find those things themselves, whether it's through following people on Instagram that says, oh, I use this, or just, going on a search engine and going how to learn English and then looking through the results, I think it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's discovery, I think, is a massive point. I've always said when I started to really learn things, like I was never a good student at school. I couldn't concentrate or stay still. And I did enough just to kind of get by. But the moment that I actually started learning things was when I was able to teach myself. And that came from the internet. My parents, luckily for me, were in a position to buy me a computer, and then they got the internet. And the moment I had the internet and access to YouTube, or his blogs actually back then, because YouTube didn't exist, and I found this kind of passion for self-education, my journey really began then. And I've always said to my colleagues in the academy, how can we teach our students to want to teach themselves, to further their education by themselves, instead of us kind of spoon feeding them everything? What can we do to get them to have the motivation to teach themselves? And it seems you have a bit more experience with that than I have. So how would you answer that question? How can we motivate them to teach themselves?
I think it's about talking to them about their passions, and then, maybe showing them what's available without saying, use this. But, for example, if they're like people who are interested in football, which one of my groups of teens are not. It was such a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh, what sports do you like? They were like, basketball, boxing. I was like, no football. But yeah, so typically a lot of our teenagers tend to be interested in football. And there are so many resources out there for learning English through football, because people have noticed that there is a market for it. So, kind of saying to them, oh, look, here's a video about English and football. And then maybe just kind of giving them the link, and then if they watch it, they watch it. But it might just kind of make them go, oh, maybe there's other things out there that might interest me. Yeah.
And what do you think about obviously motivating them through praise and things like that? Because I'm a very positive teacher. I like to give praise and say, awesome, well done, that's amazing, high five, and things like that. But I think that's us rewarding their English. But I think as teachers, we should also be rewarding their intuition to want to learn as well. And it's, as teachers, we have to kind of be aware of all these different things going on in the classroom, and a student that doesn't normally participate in speaking participates, and instead of rewarding them for speaking English, we reward them for actually participating in the activity.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so as well, it's kind of combined, but so when I hear students using language that I know I haven't taught them, things that I know haven't come up in the book, that I'm always like, wow, that was a really great phrase. Put it in the chat box for everyone, because I think little things like that can be really good motivators as well, that we recognize what they do outside of class as well, whether, not just about their English, but talking to them. So going back to the basketball, one of them plays in matches quite a lot. So generally every Tuesday when we meet, it's like, oh, did you play a match this weekend? How did it go? Was it a competition match or a friendly? And if she wins, I'm like, yay. And if she didn't win, it's like, oh, well, never mind, next match. Seeing them as people, I think, rather than just empty vessels to fill.
Exactly. Yeah. And just now you said it was a breath of fresh air. A really good expression for people to note down. If something's a breath of fresh air, what would that be?
So it's when something is very common, but then something else happens. So as I said with the example, typically, particularly here in Spain, a lot of students tend to like football. And so when I had this group of teenagers who weren't at all interested in football, that was a breath of fresh air. That was like, wow, this is something new. This is something different. Yeah. Not necessarily better or worse, just different. Yeah.
Yeah, just different. And then a really good thing you said there is they tend to be into football. We don't hear tend to very often, do we? They tend to be interested in. We would probably say normally.
Yeah. I think I'm the sort of person who tends to hedge my language a lot. I'm never 100% confident in what I say. So I do tend to use a lot of those often, sometimes, those adverbs of frequency, and that tend to as in, this is kind of my opinion that they probably do this. They tend to do this.
Yeah.
Rather than being, they definitely like this.
Yeah. Or they normally do this, and that is it. They think they tend to.
They tend to, yeah.
Do it. Yeah, really good expression. And actually, I'm going to teach that one to my teenagers today. So moving on, I'm going to put the spotlight on yourself and your social media platforms, etc. So people listening or watching at home can follow along. So your main platform for your videos at the moment, you said, is YouTube, which is this one that's on the screen now, right?
Yep, the TEFL Development Hub. So I'm slowly in the process of uploading all the last 4 years worth of content from Facebook. And then from now, even starting kind of May last year, I think I started doing the streaming directly to YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, you can see the videos, and then if you click on the lives, there's even more videos for you there.
Happy days. And then you mentioned your Facebook group, which is the TEFL Development Hub. So what sort of people should be joining your group?
I mean, it's open to anyone who's in ELT. I've been a bit lax recently, but normally every Wednesday I post a question to get people reflecting a little bit on their teaching or on their practice, not necessarily just within the classroom. And then other people post about upcoming events, people share links to interesting videos or content. It's a space as well for people to ask questions. So we've had a guy recently, Tom, who's posted a couple of really interesting questions about business English and listening and things like that. So yeah, just a space to connect, I guess.
Ideal. And like I said, I joined over the weekend, so I'm looking forward to being a part of that community myself. And then you said you're really active on LinkedIn, which is just your name, Teresa, with one S, not two. Bestwick, so people can find you and connect on there as well. Is there anywhere else where people can follow you that I've missed? And we'll leave it in the description.
No, I mean, I'm on Facebook, obviously, because I have the group there. But to be honest, I don't use it. I only use it for the hub. So it's better to connect on LinkedIn. And then my Instagram I'm on Instagram, but for me, it's my work free zone. So I don't follow any teachers. Teachers are welcome to follow me, but I don't really post much ELT content really either.
Just pictures of flowers.
Yep. Well, pictures of craft beer. That's another one of my hobbies.
Ooh.
Drinking craft beer when I can get out and find some.
Very cool. And where can people find your books and textbooks that you've authored? If they're interested.
I should probably have a link to them. I will find a link. But the one teaching teenagers is through Delta Publishing. Hang on, No, I don't have a copy next to me. Yes, I do.
Hey.
That's what it looks like. So Delta Publishing.
Perfect. Yep.
So you can find that on Amazon or through the Delta website.
Ideal. So we'll leave a link. I'll probably find the link on Amazon, and I'll leave that in the description for everyone as well. And then at the end of the show, because as teachers, we're social creatures and we love to share things, I always ask our guests to recommend other teachers for people to follow, but also we send them a message after the show and say, hey, Teresa recommended you. Would you like to come on to the show? And I know that you've got quite a few that you would like to recommend. So who should we recommend first?
Yeah, I mean, when you asked me for just one, I was like, no, impossible. So I've actually got 4 different people. So first up would be Adriana Cotto. So she's based up in the north, and she is also on the TESOL Spain board, and she does all the social media. So if anybody follows TESOL Spain on Instagram, Adriana is just a queen when it comes to social marketing. And it's also a passion for her. Like if you look at her own social media as well, and she's just started a new account as well, Playdates for English teachers, where she's going to be posting more content for teachers. So definitely Adriana would be up on the list. Next up would be Harry Waters. So he just did the closing plenary at IATEFL, the big international teachers conference last week, with his daughter. And because they're both very into the environment and creating change makers. And so, they did a closing plenary the other day, and it's on my list of things to watch. Next up would be Robert Martinez. So he's also based in the north of Spain, and he posts loads of short videos for teachers thinking about teaching skills, thinking about different exams. He's got his own YouTube channel. He quite often posts his videos in the TEFL Development Hub as well. And I did an interview with him. And I've done one with Adriana and with Harry as well. So their live streams will be up on the YouTube. And then finally, again, one more Spanish teacher based in the north, Paula del Acqua. So she does a lot about inspiring readers. So getting young learners into reading, and then, building that lifelong habit of being a reader and how it can help you learn language. Yeah. So there would be my...
That's a really interesting one, because I find it very difficult to motivate the teenagers that I have to want to read in English at home. Reading is the thing that they really struggle with. They can't find the motivation. And I don't know whether it's because I've never I haven't had this problem in the past, but I don't know whether it's because of this TikTok attention span where they're just scrolling, and if it's longer than 3 or 4 minutes, they lose the attention. So definitely Paula Del Acqua, I'll be checking her out for some tips on how to motivate our teenagers into reading more. Do you give kind of reading material for your teenagers to do at home? Do you give them books?
To be honest, no. I mean, my teenagers are based in Italy, so all of my teaching is online nowadays as well. But I think having a school library is a really powerful way that we can encourage readers. So I do some volunteer teacher training with an association in Ecuador, and they have a school library, and they have like a reading program. So the students, they read a book either in Spanish or in English, and then they just have to kind of write a little summary of it to kind of prove that they read it, and then they earn points for reading, because they were finding the same, like teenagers just weren't interested in reading. And I think, like you say, it's probably partly the attention span, but also the fact that we spend so long looking at our screens that actually holding a book, I mean, even if it's an ebook, but, you know, holding a longer piece of text seems a bit daunting, maybe.
Hey, great word, daunting.
Daunting, scary.
Yes. And those are the sort of words that I give to my students, and I'm like, guys, these are 3 points. You're going to use scary, you're going to use bored, you're going to use interesting. Let's just think of others, and we'll change your vocabulary, and then in the exam you use those instead of these. A
little kind of soapbox moment, but I do think that is a huge problem with the CEFR and materials nowadays, that we limit what we expose our learners to. Like, so often you hear writers complaining and saying, you know, I had this really great text, but I couldn't use that because the word was above level. And it's like, our students can cope with this. They really can.
Yeah. There's all, you know, as teachers, a skill of ours is grading our language for the classroom. But at the same time, I always teach our teachers that if you're talking at a classroom English speed, you're not helping your students. Yes, if you're explaining the exercise that they have to do, then I understand you can break it down and use classroom English, but they need to hear it at the natural English speed as well. So whenever we're moving on to another exercise, I will always read the question out to them at a normal speed, and then we break it down together so that they get used to hearing a native English person speak. We're not helping our students by speaking extremely slowly to them all the time. There's a time and there's a place for it, but all the time, I think we're not doing them any help. Yeah.
Yep. I completely agree.
Teresa, thank you so much for agreeing to come on to the show, because every time that I've seen you speak, I just leave motivated and full of ideas that I can adapt and use in my classroom. And the teachers in our academy here in Murcia, if you ask them how I was when I came back from the language cert thing, and I always go through the takeaways of conferences and things that we go to. And the main thing from this last conference was all the ideas that you shared, and the games and the expressions that they aren't natural expressions, and they're really difficult to use them naturally, but we expect for our students to use them. So thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for all of the material that you put together, and being such a integral part of the TEFL community.
Thank you very much. I don't think I've been called an integral part before. That's a very nice compliment on a Monday morning.
Well, you definitely are. So for everyone that wants to check out Teresa, I will leave all of her details down below. And yeah, I think we will end the episode there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Si disfrutaste de este episodio y quieres llevar tu inglés al siguiente nivel, te invitamos a descubrir nuestros cursos online en theway.es, diseñados para mejorar tu fluidez y confianza en situaciones reales. Hemos ayudado a miles de personas como tú a transformar su aprendizaje. Visita ahora theway.es y realiza nuestro test de nivel interactivo de manera gratuita. Además, si necesitas una certificación oficial, también ofrecemos la opción de realizar el examen de Mid-Third cómodamente desde casa.
Hey, friend, I know how this feels. Waking up exhausted after multiple trips to the bathroom and feeling embarrassed by sudden leaks. I used to be constantly on edge, searching for a restroom whenever I was out. Then I discovered Better Woman. I was skeptical at first, but 2 months in, everything changed. I experienced improved bladder control, no more heart-stopping moments when I laugh or sneeze, less urge to go, deeper and more restful sleep. I finally felt like myself again, confident and in control. Better Woman is natural, effective, clinically tested, and trusted by women for over 25 years. Ready to take back your control? Head over to BeBetterNow.com to order your supply today. That's BeBetterNow.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. Individual results may vary.